Good to see y'all. Got lots of cameras on, which is awesome. Great to see your smiling faces. My name's Eric. If we haven't met before, hi, great to meet you. I've been with the LSAT Demon for a couple of years now, teaching and did my own study with the Demon back in the day. I do work with the podcasts, Thinking LSAT, Demon Daily, but yeah, just love what I've been able to do here at the Demon for the last couple of years, teaching particularly the logic games. Which is very sad because they're going away, as you know. But yeah, a couple housekeeping items before we get started. I'm not alone today. We've got some other excellent Demon team members here helping out. I think Anna, Joshua, Evan, Ryan, perhaps. I don't know if Kevin showed up as well. But yeah, we got people helping out in the chat. If I'm going to do my best to stay on top of any questions that you might have as we go along, but also with a number of people here, good to have some extra hands on deck to help out in the chat as well. Couple other things, please go camera on if you can. Really helps me to have some faces to teach to. Let me know if I'm making any kind of sense or if I'm losing you. Please keep yourself muted for the majority of class unless I call on you to come off mute and ask a question. If you do want to ask a question at any point, use that hand up emoji in Zoom to get in the queue to ask a question, or drop it in the chat if you want to. Feel free to DM me or any of the TAs who are in attendance. I think that pretty much does it. What are we doing here today? Well, like I alluded to, a great tragedy has befallen all of us, and they've decided that they're getting rid of the logic games. Which I'm still in the works and developing my own LSAT that retains the logic games. I'll let you know how that goes, and you can join me later for that if you want. But for now, we're losing the logic games. But it's crunch time on studying them and perfecting them in time for the June test. So we're here to work on a logic game first and foremost. But more than that, we're going to talk about what it is that actually makes us good at the logic games and what lessons we can take from our success on the games moving forward into logical reasoning. How it is that we can treat LR a little bit more like LG if we're crushing it on the games, but still looking for ways to improve at LR. Because the good news is that all the work, even though the games are going away, all the work that you have done to improve on the games, to learn the games, has also made you better at the other sections, whether or not you know it. So we're going to talk about that. But first, we're going to dive in and do this logic game. This is from test 73. It is game 3, about 3 families in the 17th century. Let's just dive right in. So do this game on your own. It's the first item linked on the syllabus here in the Demon. So I'll give you probably 10-ish minutes to do this on your own. Then we'll come back. I'll go through how I would approach it, answer any questions you might have, and we'll go from there. Sound good? All right, let's do it. All right. Easy peasy, right? No problem. We can just move on to LR. This is a fun one. Definitely some stuff going on. I have to say, when I look at a game and I see 3 rules as opposed to like 6 rules, it always makes me a little nervous because the more rules you get, the more stuff's kind of baked in for you, the more restrictions there are. And on these games, restrictions is a good thing. So it's when I see a list of like 7 or 8 rules on a game, I'm usually like, sweet, awesome, no problem. When it's 3 rules, 2 rules, 1 rule, that's where I'm like, oh boy. But I think this one's what, like medium difficulty? Let's take a look. First thing I'm going to do, and this might already be different for those of you who aren't used to our way of doing the games, is I'm just going to read through this. I'm actually going to put my marker down. I'm going to read through this entire game without noting anything on a first read through. Treating this as just a reading passage. I'm going to understand it as English words that mean something on their own without my needing to like immediately notate rules in any way. Just going to understand this game by reading it first. Obviously not see every single answer, but just understand basically what everything says. During the 17th century, 3 families, the Trents, the Williamses, and the Yandells, owned the 5 buildings that constituted the center of their village. 5 buildings owned by 3 families. Okay. The forge, the granary, the inn, the mill, and the stable. Each family owned at least one of the buildings, and each building was owned by exactly one of the families. Cool. I was already kind of starting to question, can a building be owned by multiple people potentially? Some community ownership? No, just one at a time. So I'm already thinking there's kind of a limited number of ways that we can distribute the numbers of who owns how many buildings, which is good. Everyone has to have at least one building, and every building's owned by only one family. Sweet. The historical evidence establishes the following about the ownership of the buildings. The Williamses owned more of the buildings than the Yandells owned. Okay, and they all own at least one. So that means the Williamses own at least 2, right? I think. Come back to that. Neither the inn nor the mill belonged to the owner of the forge. So whoever owned the forge cannot have also owned the inn or the mill. Okay. Either the Trents owned the stable, or the Yandells owned the inn, or both. Interesting. Some of you might have gotten intimidated by this rule, but just thinking about it as I read it, it's not that bad. There's only one of these things has to happen to deal with this rule. If the Trents own the stable, then we're good. Then I don't care what's going on with the inn. I don't care what's going on with the Yandells. If the Yandells own the inn, awesome. I don't care what's going on with the Trents or the stable. And that's really all there is to it. The fact that or both just tells you, yeah, it could be both of them owning those buildings as well. But really what I'm focused on, do the Trents own the stable? Do the Yandells own the inn? If at least one of those things is happening, then we're fine. That's my first read through. Now I'm going to think about how I want to kind of visualize this game. Let's keep track of what our buildings are. We got the forge, the granary, the inn, the mill, and the stable. Because we have the 3, I'm thinking, I think you could approach this game conceptually 2 ways. You could either start with your buildings and decide which families own which buildings, or you could kind of approach it in reverse and think, okay, well, let's have my families as the overarching group and decide which buildings go to which families. I think that's how I want to do it. Maybe just because there are fewer families. I don't know, but you could probably do it either way. But our families are the Trents, the Williamses, and the Yandells. And I know that everyone owns at least one. And I also know that the Williamses own, so the first thing I'm going to do now that I've got this basic setup is start to think about anything that has to be true. That's my first setup. Is there anything that must be true? But before that, we've already got some questions. Hannah?
So something that does have to be true is, so W always has to have more than Y. So the only possible distributions is either 3, 1, 1 or 2, 2, 1.
Okay.
Y
Okay.
is 1 every time.
So starting to think about that question already of that first rule is, well, we know that the Williams own more of the buildings than the Yandell, so we got to at least add a second building for the Williamses. Nice. Then how many buildings is that? 1, 2, 3, 4 buildings are already taken care of. All that leaves is one building where we're not quite sure where it goes yet. Could it go to the Trents? Yeah, why not? Could it go to the Williamses? Sure, why not? Could it go to the Andells? Well, no, because that would be our final building, and giving that fifth building to the Andells would mean we'd have an equal number between the Williamses and the Andells. What does that tell us? Andells, shit out of luck, only one building. I'm just going to add a little extra thing there to tell myself, hey, remember, that's their only building. Probably other ways you can do that as well, but I'm just kind of locking that in. And then I get it. All right, there's a fifth building that's going to either T or W. Hannah, you talked about distribution, other people talking about that as well. You might at this point start split your diagrams, make worlds based on where does that fifth building go? Does it go here? Does it go there? That could be a place to start with worlds. I'm going to leave it flexible for now. Hannah, follow up.
So my question is, after we draw out our worlds, I did 4 worlds based
Okay.
on the distribution, but then based on whether S goes with the Trents, and then whether the N goes to the Yandles.
Okay.
Would that be correct to create worlds on those 2 rules?
It might be, yeah. So ultimately, what we're going to do with worlds is bake the rules into our setup, and there's not one correct way to do it. As long as you end up in a place, and we'll illustrate this here. Some of you might be new to the concept of worlds, but worlds is essentially just taking the diagram or diagrams that you've got so far and splitting them based on something. Based on, well, where is that nameless fifth building going? Do the Trents own the stable or not? Who owns the inn? Who owns the forge? Picking something and making worlds, versions of that situation based on all of what's possible. What you choose to pick, there's very rarely one right way to do it. But the key is to look for something that is fairly restricted, impacted by the rules. It's going to allow you to then apply the rule to your worlds in a way that it basically bakes in the rule into your worlds. A couple things that we can think about in choosing where to start. I'm always going to be looking for a variable, in this case, maybe one building that seems most important. What seems like an important building here? People are mentioning S, people are mentioning F. Well, I'm looking at these rules and I see one building that is mentioned in multiple rules. And some of you in chat were already calling it out. The inn. The inn is the one that I see is mentioned in multiple rules. Now, what's possible for the inn? Well, it could still go to any of them. But where it goes and knowing where the inn is going to allow us to within those worlds, figure out some things that have to be true based on the other rules. So that's going to be my start. I'm not saying it's the way to do this game. It is a way to do this game, just based in the observation that the in seems important because it is in multiple rules. So I'm going to split into 3. Hopefully y'all can comprehend and stand my handwriting. The split is just simply, where is the in going? Is it going to T, to W, or to Y? That's it. And the in is done, no longer a player in this game. What next? Well, let's contemplate a rule involving the in. That third one seems like a good place to go to. Either the Trents own the stable, or the Yandells own the inn, or both. Well, in this world where the Yandells own the inn, I've already done that rule. Doesn't matter what I do with the stable, doesn't matter what I do with the Trents. The Yandells already own the inn, so that rule taken care of. Totally fine. In these other worlds, however, the Yandells do not own the inn, which tells me that the other thing must be true. The Trents have to own the stable. And that's it. Now we've taken care of that rule. What I might do here, just because I've got S down, I might just add this in for now to tell myself, hey, let's get that on the board. Now I know I've taken care of S. S is flexible between T and W in this world. Maybe I want to split that later. Perhaps. Leaving that option open to myself, maybe it will be helpful later to split this world based on whether S goes to T or W. For now, I don't see a need to do it, so I'm just leaving it there. Hannah?
How would S be able to go to T and W if the N goes to the Yandles? Because doesn't the rule say one or the other has to happen, but not both at once?
Read it again. The rule says or both.
Oh.
Either this happens, or that happens, or both of them happen. So yeah,
That's what it. Okay. Thank you.
sure thing. Thank you, Hannah. Appreciate the question. It's a test of reading comp first. Always a test of reading comprehension first on every single section of this test. But good news, all that remains in this game is the second rule. Neither the inn nor the mill belong to the owner of the forge. Okay, so it's the forge that's the crucial one. The forge can't go with the inn. The forge can't go with the mill. Let's figure it out. I probably want to make another split here. And I think it's going to help me to split these worlds based on where the forge goes. I don't have to worry. So I know that in this world, the forge cannot go to T because the I is already there. It could still go there. It could still go there. And depending on where it goes, that kind of will tell me whether M is flexible or not. So I'm just going to go ahead and make that split. Copying this world first. F either goes to W or F goes to Y. Here, if F goes to W, what's the other one that can't go there? Well, M is forced to go to Y. Because there are only 2 left now, M and G, and you got to fill these 2 spots. So it means M has to go there, and G is the one that is the second one underneath W. Here, only 2 remaining are G and M. They have to fill those 2 spots. No reason why G and M can't go together. So there you go. Just another baby step by splitting based on F and fill in the other things that must be true. Let's keep going down the line. I still think a split. Now I know that F cannot go to W, but F could go to Y or T. So that's where I'm going to make my split. Copying the world first. F either goes to T or F is the solo building owned by Y. Now what remains? M and G. Well, in this world, they can flip-flop, right? M and G, and I'm just going to put an arc between them to let me know that I can flip-flop those back and forth. It could be this way or that way. Here, little more complicated because I still have the flexibility with M and with G. And I know that one of them has to go there, but I'm not sure where the other one goes. It could go with T or it could go with W. So I'm just going to say the other one, whether it's G or M, could go here or it could go there. Fair? What about here? Well, I'm no longer concerned about putting F with I, because I already know is isolated as the one building owned by the Andels. But F could still go here, it could still go here. And then where M goes might depend on where S has gone. And I feel now perhaps slightly uncomfortable that I've got a floating S. One thing I do know, and I don't really care whether F goes here or F goes here, because I just know that M will go to the opposite. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to backtrack on S for just a second, which could still go in either one of these places. And I'm just going to say that, hey, F and M have to go to different families, but they're going to either one of those. And then I think I see how now S can go either here or here, and depending on where it goes, one place or the other, it's going to dictate whether G has to go somewhere or else. And that's just a little bit more work than I want to do in my head. So I'm just going to go ahead and split this again based on where S goes. Maybe this feels like overkill, but it's going to take me 10 seconds to do, and it's going to prevent work that I have to do in my head later when I'm answering the questions. So the split I'm making is now based on S. Does it go to T or does it go to W? If it goes to T, then our final building, G, has to go to W to fill in that spot. If S goes to W, then G, like it is down here, is flexible between T or W. And that's it. That is all of the rules baked into my worlds. Still some flexibility in some of these worlds, but I feel ready to crush these questions based on what I've got. Any questions about this? Why can't S float between T and W? In this world, it can. That's why I made the two worlds, one where S goes here, one where S goes here. I just replaced the floating notation with a world split for S. Adrian, you got a question?
Yeah. Hi, Eric. This is my
Hey.
first time doing worlds, and why don't you separate it even farther? Because you have those like alternates, like the F and the M. Why not make more?
Great question. Because it doesn't matter for the rules. Because the purpose of building worlds is to just get the rules down. To make it so that no matter what I do, if I work inside of these worlds, I will not break the rules. So splitting further based on, for instance, all this flexibility down here or all the flexibility in here, yeah, you could make those splits to spell it out, but does it address any of the rules? No, we're already done with the rules. So I think that's a really important thing, and so I'm really glad you asked that question, because it's one of the things that people who are newer to worlds have got to learn and internalize, that the reason for the splits is to deal with the rules. So once you're done dealing with the rules, as long as you're okay reading this flexibility, which I am, then we're good. Can I explain splitting based on I? Yes, split based on I, just because that was the one that was mentioned in multiple rules. Because the inn was an important building to know about based on the rules, that's what I wanted to start with. Pretty much all it was. And often splitting based on the variable that's mentioned in multiple rules, good place to start. Mitchell, question? And then we can move on. Got a question, Mitchell? Okay, well, I can't hear you. Maybe we'll come back to you. Question 14, which one of the following could be an accurate matching of each family to the building or buildings it owned? The list question that is typically the first one you get, and after all the work that we've done with these worlds, I'm now going to come back to the rules to answer this question. Just another opportunity to read through the rules again, make sure I understood those rules properly. And it can be more straightforward to eliminate these list type questions, or eliminate wrong answers just by going through the rules. So that's what we'll do. A, B, C, D, and E, and we're just going to pick, let's say, the first rule. Doesn't matter what order we do it in, but the first rule says that the Williamses owned more of the buildings than the Yandells owned, and that is going to eliminate answer choice D. It's also going to eliminate answer choice E, where they have an equal number of buildings. That also doesn't work. So D and E, based on the first rule, those are done. The next rule says that neither the inn nor the mill belonged to the owner of the forge. So I'm looking for the forge. A is okay, B is okay. In answer choice C, the Trents own the forge and the mill. That breaks that second rule, so I'm getting rid of C. Last rule says either the Trents own the stable or the Yandells own the inn, or both. In A, the Trents own the stable, and that's all I need to know. That's good enough. In B, the Trents do not own the stable, and the Yandells do not own the inn, and that's a problem. So A is our answer for question 14. Process of elimination on that one. Now we're on to question 15, and we can start putting our worlds to use. Which one of the following is a pair of buildings that cannot both have been owned by the Trents? So I'm going to look at my answer choice A, F, and G, and if I can find one world where the Trents own both of those or could own both of those, then it's not the correct answer. Because I'm looking for two buildings that cannot both belong to the Trents. And right away in this world, I see that the Trents could own F and G, both of them. That tells me that A is not the answer. Could the Trents own G and M? Well, yeah, in this same world, just flip M over to the Trents, keep G with the Trents, and you got G and M together with the Trents. Answer choice B, incorrect. What about C? The granary and the stable. Please keep yourself muted. Thank you. Granary and the stable. Where am I looking? Yeah, right here. The Trents could have the granary and the stable. That works just fine. So C is incorrect. How about the inn and the mill? Well, these two worlds are the ones where the Trents have the inn, and they definitely don't have the mill. So I think that's going to be our answer. Answer choice D. Double checking answer choice E, the inn and the stable. Sure, totally fine. They could have the inn and the stable. So confirmed. Answer choice D, The Trents cannot own both the inn and the mill. And the beauty of that is that I don't even remember what the rules were. That is the beauty of worlds, is that process, when I'm not explaining it out loud, takes about 5 seconds to eliminate those wrong answers and find the correct one. And I'm not mixing rules in my head. I'm not trying to find this through inferences. I haven't done any more work. Put my pen down, and I'm just using my worlds to answer, and I don't even remember what the rules said. But I know that D is right based on my worlds. Question 16, if the Yandels owned the mill, well, what worlds does that happen? This one, it could happen. Nowhere else do the Yandels own the mill, so I'm restricting myself to just looking at these two worlds for this question. Which one of the following must be false? The Trents own the forge? No, that could be true. The Williamses own the forge? That could be true. The Williamses own the granary? That could be true. Did I skip one? The Williamses own the inn? That could be true. I feel like I skipped one. The Trents own the, which one of the following? Oh, I was answering the wrong question. Thank you, Elizabeth. Must be true. Okay, great. Yes, I misread the question. And okay. Here's a great learning moment, which I will come back to when we talk about translating over to logical reasoning. But I got through all 5 of the answer choices and figured out, and I didn't find the correct answer. That tells me that I misread something. And I misread the question. So the question is, if the Yandels own the mill, yes, only these 2 worlds, what must be true? The Trents own the forge. No, the Trents do not have to own the forge because the Williamses could own the forge. Another thing I could do here before diving into the answer choices is take this must be true and just ask myself 2 questions. What must the correct answer do, and what will the wrong answers do? So the correct answer is must be true, and the wrong answers, opposite of must be true, don't have to be true, could be false. And that's what I'm going to keep looking for, is eliminating answer choices that do not have to be true. The Trents owned the inn, that does not have to be true. The Williamses owned the forge, that does not have to be true. The Williamses owned the granary, that does not have to be true. Oh, wait. The question said if the Yandels owned the mill, which means that the mill goes here, the granary goes here with the Williamses. Here, the Williamses have the granary. So there's our answer. That's the one that must be true. Answer choice D. Double checking E, the Williamses owned the inn. That does not have to be true. Confirmed, answer choice D. Question 17, if one of the families owned both the granary and the inn, which one of the following could be true? It's not happening here. It could happen here. It's not happening here. It's not happening here. It could happen here. It's not happening here. So I'm only looking at these 2 worlds where, and it's got to be the Williamses, own both the granary and the inn. Still some flexibility in this world on who owns the mill. Which one of the following could be true? Trents owned the granary. Nah, that's not. No, because it's the Williamses that own both the granary and the inn. So the Trents can't own the granary. The Trents own the mill. Well, if the Williamses own the granary and the inn, that leaves the mill as a floater in this world. So I think that's going to be the answer. And not surprising that after looking at the worlds, oh, someone is, oh, thank you. Not surprising that after looking at the worlds and identifying the floater in this world, the answer for this could be true was about the floater. Williamses owned the forge. No, that's not happening. Williamses own the stable. No, that's not happening. Yandel's own the inn. No, that is not happening. So yeah, B is the one that could be true. Would I recommend worlds only for grouping? No, definitely not. Worlds are great for grouping games, for ordering games, for all those games that can't really describe as one or the other, for in-out games. Absolutely, they work all over the place. All right, last one. If the Trents owned exactly one of the buildings, which one of the following is a complete and accurate list of the buildings, any one of which could be the building that the Trents owned? So Trents only own one building. That's not here, not here, not here, could be here. Not here, could be here. So what is the one building that they could own? Well, here it would be S, here it would be F or M, not G, because G's got to come over here in order to leave this as the only building. So the answer is going to be S, F, and M. That is answer choice E for question 18, and that is the game. Excellent. As we get ready to move on to logical reasoning, I'm really glad I made that mistake earlier with misreading that question, because it ties into what I think is the most important mindset that you can take from the games that will help you in both logical reasoning and reading comprehension. How many of you who have had that experience on the games where you're going through the answer choices and one of two things happens? Either none of the answer choices seem to be correct, or you have multiple answer choices that seem to be correct, right? All of us, yeah? It's like the worst feeling on the LSAT, totally common. When that happens on the game, when that happens in the logic games, for instance, could be true question, and you're asking, and you're looking at the answer choices like, well, A could be true and B could also be true. Your response, I hope, is not to say, well, I just have to pick the best answer here. On the games, you recognize, no, if I'm looking at multiple answer choices and I think I could pick either one of them, you recognize, I hope, that that's not because both of those answer choices could actually be true. It's because you made a mistake somewhere. You messed up something with your worlds, or like I did, you just misread something. And that's going to be it most of the time. You just misread something. An answer choice, a question, the passage. And that is something that, for whatever reason, I always intuitively felt like immediately I understood that in the logic games, and probably a bunch of us felt that way about the logic games. Like, we accept there is one perfectly proven answer, but we give ourselves some wiggle room in logical reasoning sometimes, where we have this feeling like, well, maybe I think like 3 of these answer choices could actually strengthen this argument. I just got to pick the best one. Stop thinking that way. Just like in the games, in logical reasoning, there is one perfectly correct answer. You have to believe that. And when you start thinking that way, when you have that kind of LG mindset in logical reasoning, truly believing that there's only one good answer, it's going to help you to slow down, to recognize when the mistake is that something that you have made instead of the test being ambiguous. And it's going to prompt you to slow down, reread things, and figure it out. That's the biggest thing I want you to take away in this thing of treating logical reasoning like the logic games. The one other thing I'll point out before we move on is that these LR passages are just full of rules that you have to follow. The premises. It could be a must be true question where it isn't really an argument, it's just a bunch of factual statements, and you just have to accept those factual statements as true and find the thing that must be true as a result. But even in an argument, it's not our place for in the LSAT to like take a piece of evidence or a premise and just cast it aside. You might question it on a first reading, like, really? Do I have to accept the results of this survey? Well, if it's just evidence in the argument, then yeah, you probably have to. But it's the same thing. The name of the game in logical reasoning is accept the premises, question the conclusion. And that goes with thinking of those premises as rules. And that's good news because it simplifies things for you. If you can always just come back to, hey, what the premises said, just accept that. Be very careful about what specifically they say and what they don't say. For instance, does it say or both versus but not both? Still got to read it correctly. But when you can just come back to the premises as rules that you can accept, that also helps. Samuel, do you have a question?
Hi, yeah. I'm just still like really kind of confused on number 16, where they introduced a new rule and it was the must be true question. I'm just kind of still confused with you're looking at those two worlds, right? And you're trying to see which one. I'm just lost with that one a little.
Yeah. In these two worlds, the and L own the mill, and I need something that happens, that must happen in both of these worlds. Answer choice D, the Williams own the granary. That must be true here. It also must be true here because remember, I've moved M here, which flips G there. That's what must be true. All of the other answer choices, for instance, the Trents own the forge. Well, here, the Williamses own the forge. So that doesn't have to be true. And all of the other incorrect answers will have something like that, where in one of those worlds doesn't have to be like that.
Thank you.
Sure. Okay. Cool. Let's move on into logical reasoning. With that in mind, remember, there is one perfectly correct answer. It's not ambiguous. And if you find yourself debating answer choices, cool, recognize that, accept that that's just a warning to you that you've misunderstood something, you've misread something, got to go back and figure out what that thing is. Yes, this is being recorded. It should be up on the class page here in the Demon within 24 hours or so, I think. So if you have to head out, we're going to go over the scheduled hour to do these logical reasoning questions together. Feel free to come back to the VOD later. Cool. Thanks, y'all. Okay. Do these two LR questions on the syllabus. I will reorient myself to my seated position and see y'all in a few minutes. All right, y'all. Before we go into logical reasoning, I will give you the one quick, super duper quick sales pitch. If you like this class, if you found it useful, if you think that our way of seeing the test, which hopefully declutters your mind of some of the weird stuff that is floating around out there about highly technical, confusing approaches to the LSAT, consider a month of live. I know some of you are already live class students. Great to see you here. But it's not just me. We have tons of great teachers. I'll just show you very quickly. This is what our class schedule looks like for today. 4 classes. Tomorrow we've got 6 classes apparently. Not saying you need to go to all of them. Maybe pick one with a teacher that you like. Anna's teaching one later this evening on RC Foundations. I just had a one-on-one tutoring student tell me that after struggling with main point questions on RC for a long time, she went to one of Anna's RC Foundations classes a couple weeks back and something clicked, and now feels like she's never going to miss another main point question in her life. So I wish I knew what Anna said to unlock that. Anna, I'll hit you up on Slack later, maybe to figure out what that was, but got tons of great teachers, lots of different teaching styles. Even if what I'm throwing at you just doesn't connect, chances are there's someone else who teaches in a way. So give it a shot. All right, sales pitch done. Let's get back to some logical reasoning. If I can figure out how the heck to work Zoom. Why? My Zoom toolbar is over on my other monitor. Just a second. Technology. Test 73, section 2, question 23. It was the first one that was on the syllabus for our 2 ILR questions. It says a developing country can substantially increase its economic growth if its business people are willing to invest in modern industries that have not yet been pursued there. Okay. That's not telling me that that's the only way to increase growth, but that's one way. If you get the business people and convince them to invest in modern industries that haven't, let's get into biotech. No companies in our country have gotten into biotech. So if we can convince some business people to invest in biotech, then that could substantially increase economic growth in the country. Okay. Any downsides, though? Is that always going to work out? Maybe not for every business person. But being the first to invest in an industry is very risky. It could be. I mean, there is also, I would think, a potential huge upside. Like, sure, there's risk, but isn't it also really helpful to be first one to market? Moreover, business people have little incentive to take this risk. Little incentive? Again, I think it would be... I would think that there would be an incentive given the potential upside of being first to market on something like in a modern industry. But you're telling me that business people have little incentive to take this risk, since if the business succeeds, many other people will invest in the same industry and the competition will cut into their profits. What? But there's always competition. There's competition in every industry, not just the modern ones. Kind of weird. That said, maybe the trade-off is just how much more risky it is. Like, yeah, there's always competition, but it's just more risky in the case where you're investing in some modern industry where there's no proven track record of success in the business of a particular country. What I'm doing there is just kind of like recognizing that the conclusion of this argument is, well, is there? I guess there isn't really a conclusion here. Yeah, they're just kind of giving me a bunch of facts, which means I sort of have to take them as rules. So while I've objected and I have some questions about these facts, about what it really is to be a businessman, I definitely have questions here. I'm not really seeing much of a conclusion, which makes me think probably going to be some version of a must be true or a supported question. So if I understand what these points say, if I take them as rules and kind of understand the way that these rules fit together, I'm going to be able to answer a must be true. Now, I don't know that I have a great prediction here for like a specific prediction, but as long as I'm tracking everything and I've taken the time to go through and translate these statements into my own words that I understand, and I can put them all together, then I'm ready to find an answer choice that must be true if that is what the question asks. The statements above, if true, most strongly support which one of the following claims? Yeah, so most strongly supported, just like a soft must be true, not 100% proven, but you're basically treating it like a must be true with a little wiggle room. Use this as an Erik is old button? What am I missing in chat? Am I too old to understand what the joke even is? Jeez. Oh, the fact that oh, it's just my old memory. The fact that I was trying to figure out how to use Zoom. Yeah, fair enough. Okay, what must be true? A, once a developing country has at least one business in a modern industry, further investment in the industry will not contribute to the country's economic growth. What? Like there's a limited return, like only one business getting into the game will help the economy. That definitely is not anything that this person says. It says business people are willing to invest. If business people are willing to invest, then that'll bump up the economy. It makes no statement about whether those business people are in one business or many businesses. So Taylor asks, can you treat supported questions like must be trues? I that's basically what I'm doing. Yeah. It's like a must be true question, but the LSAT's lawyers made them call it a most strongly supported because maybe you can come up with something to wiggle your way out of it. B, in developing countries, there is greater competition there greater competition? Huh? There's talk about competition in there, but between modern industries and traditional, we just have no information about traditional industries. So I can't pick this answer choice. I just don't know about it. C, a developing country can increase its prospects for economic growth by providing added incentive for investment in modern industries that have not yet been pursued there. Well, yeah. What's the reason why business people don't invest in those modern industries? Well, they have little incentive to take the risk of doing so. If you add some incentive, then that might help to offset the risk. And if that happens and you end up with more business people investing in those modern industries, then we know, based on the rule of the first sentence, then that could substantially increase the economic growth in that country. Enrique likes the word can in answer choice C. 100%. I do as well. If this said a developing country will increase, harder to prove that, given that we're treating this as a must be true. Much harder to prove will than can. That's why you tend to see a little softer language on these must be trues. Not all the time. You can still pick a must be true that is really strongly worded if the passage actually leads to that. But otherwise, yeah, can, a little bit softer. Hey, it's possible. I agree. It is possible. So I'm ready to pick answer choice C. But I'm checking D and E. D says a developing country will not experience economic growth unless it's business people. No, we were told that it can grow if it does this. Doesn't say that it must do that in order to grow. So D is confusing, sufficient, and necessary, I think. So get out of there. Answer choice E, investments in a modern industry in a developing country carry little risk as long as the country has at least one other business in that industry. We do not know that. The author tells us that this particular endeavor would be very risky, doesn't give us the information about how to lessen that risk, and doesn't say that any business is ever has little risk. For all we know, business is always risky. It's just being the first to invest in an industry is very risky. But yeah, can't pick E. Answer choice C for sure. Love it. Hannah.
Just wanted to confirm D is wrong because it's switching sufficient for necessary, but they're not switching the terms when they negate them, right?
Switching the terms when they negate. Yeah, that's getting a little that's a little above my head when you start getting into that kind of technical language. I'm not thinking about it in those terms. Can you explain what you mean by that?
So if you diagram like unless, it becomes if not. And then, so if not,
I'm never diagramming on logical reasoning. We just don't teach that. And that might be a shocker to some of you out there, but you don't need to. It's more confusing to me than it's worth. I
but
think you are.
it's incorrect because it's switching sufficient and necessary. That's the reason why it's incorrect.
Yeah, it tells us that business people being willing to invest in modern industries can increase economic growth. It's not even saying that, I guess it's not even saying that that investment is sufficient for growth. It's just saying that doing that can possibly lead to growth.
Thank you.
But just to say that thing, like putting pepperoni on a pizza can make it tasty. But that's not to say that pepperoni is the only thing that makes or is required to make pizza tasty. That's what D's doing. It's just saying like this thing can lead to this other thing, and then falsely turning that into this thing is required for that other thing. Nah. Thanks, Hannah. Itzel?
Yes, I have a question. I selected, wait, can you hear me? Sorry, I'm in the car.
Yep.
Okay. I selected D as well, like a developing country will not experience economic growth. Is the will not too strong of a language? Like, I'm trying to figure out why
Yeah.
it's also wrong.
Yeah, it is. Because we don't know that that kind of investment is required for growth. D is saying that that these business people must invest in modern industries if you have any chance of growing your economy. This thing is required for economic growth. But that's just not what the passage says.
And that's just stupid. Okay. All right, I'm gonna have to keep an eye out on that strong language. So treat supportive stuff like must be true. Can you remind me that again?
I think these supported questions are just basically soft. They're just soft must be trues.
All righty, thank you.
Sure thing. All right, going to move on to the next one because we got plenty to talk about with this concert hall question. If you've got more questions on this developing countries question, the ask button is there in the daemon. We've also still got TAs in the chat who can help you work through it. But let's move on to test 73, section 2, question 24. A survey of cities concert goers found that almost all of them were dissatisfied with the local concert hall. Okay, so the survey was not of everybody in the city. The survey was just with the people who actually go to the concert in the city. And almost all of them were dissatisfied with the local concert hall. Damn. A large majority of them expressed a strong preference for wider seats and better acoustics. Get us more comfortable seats, get us better sounding concert hall. And even though the survey respondents were told that the existing concert hall cannot feasibly be modified to provide these features, so can't fix the old, you can't polish the turd, we're not fixing the old one. Most of them opposed the idea of tearing down the existing structure and replacing it with a concert hall with wider seats and better acoustics. So we are not satisfied with this concert hall. We wish it had more comfortable seats. We wish it had better acoustics, but do not tear it down. Do not tear it down and replace it with a better one. That sounds like a contradictory position to hold. And it makes me think this is probably a paradox question, and they're just going to ask us to come up with an answer choice that explains that seemingly hypocritical position. You just told us that you didn't like this concert hall, that you weren't satisfied with it, but now you don't want to tear it down for a better one? Well, let me ask you this. Anyone here a sports fan? Are you satisfied with the performance of your team? You're not? Okay. Well, should we completely dissolve that sports team and replace it with a new one? No, of course not, because we have some loyalty to our team, despite the fact that they might not be performing up to the level that we would hope for them. I am myself a San Francisco Giants fan, so I have some experience in what I'm talking about this season and last season and the season before that. What was I talking about? Yeah, just because they have some issues with the old one doesn't, yeah, there could be plenty of other reasons why they don't want to see it torn down. No great mystery here. Which one of the following, if true, most helps to explain the apparent conflict of the concert goers' views as revealed by the survey? So I'm looking for something that just reinforces the idea that, hey, even though we've got issues with it, we don't want to see it go. There's some other things about it that could be perfectly good, where we feel like we want to hang on to this. We would still, despite its flaws, prefer to keep it around instead of tearing it down. Okay, answer choice A. Before any of the survey questions were asked, the respondents were informed that the survey was sponsored by a group that advocates replacing the existing concert hall. I have no idea what that would do. Look, survey bias is a real problem, and people will change their answers to surveys based on what they think the surveyor wants to hear, but we don't know what they would think in this case. Would they, based on this knowledge, would they say, well, therefore, I think they want me to tell them that I want to replace the hall, or do they think that I want them to tell them to actually don't replace the hall? I don't know. Answer choice A just doesn't give us enough into the psychology of what's going on. It kind of like vaguely points at a survey flaw, but doesn't actually give us all the information that we need to conclusively say, that was the problem that explained it. Just don't have that. Answer choice B, most of the people who live in the vicinity of the existing concert hall do not want it to be torn down. Notice that we've changed who we're talking about. We were talking about the city's concert goers. Answer choice B talks about people who live in the vicinity of the existing concert hall. Are those the same people? I don't know. Maybe there's some overlap. Maybe there's no overlap. So what does this tell me about the people who responded to the survey? No way of knowing. Answer choice C, the city's construction industry will receive more economic benefit from the construction of a new concert hall from renovations to the existing concert hall. I don't care. What does the economic benefits to the construction industry have anything to do with how the city concert goers answered their survey? Do they care about the construction industry? I don't know. D, a well-publicized plan is being considered by the city government that would convert the existing concert hall into a public auditorium and build a new concert hall nearby. Well, hold on. You're telling me that, okay, so the question you asked me was, should we tear down the old concert hall and replace it with a new one? Of course I'm going to answer no. Because I already know from all the ads that have been running throughout the city that there's this plan to not tear down the old one, but just to restore it and build a new concert hall anyways. I would be an idiot to accept the first option when I know that the second option is being considered in a well-publicized way. So no, I don't want you to tear down the hall and replace it with a new one because we have this other option of leaving it up for other things, and we get a better concert hall anyways. Of course, that'd explain it. I would have never predicted that. Was not my prediction. But absolutely, that would explain their behavior. That would explain their answer. If that's the option, and you get to say, nope, don't need to tear down because we're doing this other thing instead, we get to have our cake and eat it too. Excellent. All right. Double checking on E. Many popular singers and musicians who currently do not hold concerts in the city would begin to hold concerts there if a new concert hall were built. That just makes the paradox worse, because if that were true, and if lots of popular singers and musicians who would never come to your shitty theater all of a sudden would start coming to town if you had a better theater, then why wouldn't you replace it? If you want those popular singers and songwriters to come to town, like, why don't you do that? So E just makes things even more confusing. Can't pick it. D is the one that makes total sense why, if that's true, and the question says, which one of the following, if true? Yeah, if that's true, then it makes sense why you would reject the plan to tear down the existing concert hall. Asha, question?
Yes, so I was confused about the right answer because, like, what drew me away from it was because it said public auditorium. It said they were going to turn it into a public auditorium. And yes, they were going to build a new concert hall. That's great. But I was trying to focus on what the question was. The question that at least we drew from the stimulus was that, hey, why don't y'all want to tear this down? I thought you didn't like it. So I'm kind of like focusing on the fact on answering that question. And I was like, okay, but public auditorium is different from a concert hall. So they don't want a public auditorium. They want a better concert hall, which
But they're getting,
yeah.
and build a new concert hall nearby. That's what D says. So they do get a new, better concert hall. But they bonus get to keep the old building. And sure, they're changing it into something else.
Or at least they're not tearing it down.
But at least they're not tearing it down. So cool.
Yeah.
People who go to concerts, maybe they never have to go to the old concert hall again. But they still might prefer to leave it up for historic purposes or for whatever, or just as a backup. But what D says, critically, D says, and build a new concert hall nearby. So you get both.
So the fact that so the public auditorium, it's not that I made the mistake of thinking of them separate, that they were separate things. They are separate things. It's just that they are still getting what they want. Okay.
Absolutely. Yep.
All right.
Thanks, Asha.
Thank you.
Yeah. Hannah?
Can you explain one more time why D is correct? It's still not clicking for some reason, why this would explain the discrepancy of if they're making it into a public auditorium and then they get a new concert hall. How's that explaining the survey results that they're opposed to the idea of tearing down the existing structure? Wouldn't they be fine with getting the new concert hall and then just the existing structure it's built for a different purpose? They don't have to worry about it anymore.
So the question is, why did they answer the survey that way? And to answer that question, you have to understand what was the specific question that they were asked on the survey. And the question on the survey was, do you want to tear down the old concert hall to replace it with a new one. And it would be confusing if they were to answer no if you didn't have any other information. But if you know that that's not the only option, like if that's the only option, here's your one option if you want a better concert hall. This is the only way we can do it. Tear down the old one, build a new one. No other option on the table. Then yeah, it's confusing why they wouldn't choose that option. But that's not the only option. The other option is even better. It's don't worry about tearing it down, leave it up, we'll repurpose it for something else. And we'll also still build you that new concert hall that you want. You just don't have to do the extra shitty step of tearing down the old one. D gives us the extra information of the alternate option that wasn't present on the survey. So these people would have known about that other option because it was well publicized, which is why they didn't have to answer yes on that survey, because the survey wasn't giving them the other option that they knew they had.
That makes more sense now. Thank you so much.
Sure. Yeah. Yaritza, question?
Yes, I guess I just got intimidated by like the additional information. Like I know for some type of question, it is like a no-no to bring in more information. So when I saw like, I clicked D and then I took it off whenever it said city government in additional stuff. It just seemed too big and too elaborate.
Sure. Good question. It comes down to what does the question ask? And there are some magic words on this question that let you get away with that new information. If true, which one of the following, if true? So we don't have to, it's not asking us whether this is true based on the passage. That would be like a must be true question, right? Where it says which one of the following is proven by the passage. This works in reverse. We might call this a answer driven question. I forget. We've had so many different names for those two different types of questions over the years. I forget what we're talking about, but this if true tells us, no, we're not asked whether this is true. We're told, think of this as real. Add this as a new truth to the argument. Does it explain things? It's the same thing with strengthen and weaken. Like a strengthen question, you're not asked which one of these questions is true. You're told, assume that it is true. Does it strengthen the argument? Or does it weaken the argument? So that's really key here, is the new information, accept that it is true, think of it as true, because the question tells you which of the following, if true.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, sure thing. Thanks for the question. I'm going to take a question from Miriam, and then I actually, unfortunately, have to hop off because I do have a tutoring student to get to, but some of the TAs might be able to hang around to answer more questions.
Hi, I got this question right, but I just wanted to make sure that I'm using the correct method. So the reason I picked D and I kind of canceled the other ones was because the other options like A, B, C, and E were not directly affecting the subset of the survey of the people, like the population. And that's kind of what I determined whether it was directly affecting those or not. And D was the one that was closely affecting them and could have possibly explained the apparent conflict. And I just want to double check my method because this is my first class and I've been self-studying.
Yeah, well, welcome. Thanks for stopping by. You're definitely right. If you know that an answer choice does not actually, or you don't know for sure whether it affects these concert goers or whether it actually refers to these concert goers, then you can eliminate it based on that. The clearest example of that here is B, most of the people who live in the vicinity of the existing concert hall. Well, how do I know that those are the people who were surveyed? Because the people who were surveyed were concert goers. Now you're talking about the people who live in the vicinity. These could be different groups of people. So because I don't know that those match up, I just don't know what that answer choice does for me. So yeah, absolutely something to look for.
Okay, thank you so much.
Thanks. Okay, apologies all. I do have to jet. There might still be some, let's see, Ryan's here. I don't know if Anna's still hanging out, but if you've got more questions on this one, some people might be able to stick around and answer more of those. Thank you all for being here. It was a real pleasure spending this time doing some LG and some LR with you. Enjoy these games while we have them, y'all. Hopefully they're made available after they go away and we get to just keep doing them as fun games, but who knows if that's actually going to happen. So yeah, if any of you want to follow up with me directly, my email address is eric@lsatdemon.com. That's ERIK at lsatdemon.com. Shoot me an email. Happy to be in touch. Maybe I will see you in class sometime soon. Bye, y'all. Have a good one.
Thank you.
Oh, I need to make Ryan, I'm going to make you a co-host so that you can hang on to answer more questions.
That works. I can stick
Cool.
around probably like 15 minutes or so and see if anyone's got more questions, and
Awesome.
happy to do that.
Thanks so
I don't know
much.
if there's any other TAs left in here, but
Yeah, I'm not seeing anyone, so appreciate it. All
all
right.
right.
Bye, y'all.
All right, everybody. Is the Discord free to everyone? I'm not sure. So I am happy to stick around and answer some questions really quick. You guys will have to give me a little bit of patience because I am one of the newer employees here. So I can write that question down and I can go ahead and send it to our Slack and ask it to people. And then I'll write down the name. All right, yeah. So go ahead and use the raise hand button if you'd like. We can go ahead and ask a few questions and then you guys can get out of here as soon as you want. As far as we're concerned, class is pretty much set, but I'm happy to stick around and ask a few questions. Adrian, you got your hand raised?
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Yeah, so this is the question that Eric was doing. I was debating between D and E, but I ended up picking E because I thought like if these concert goers realize that these popular, singers and musicians, they're gonna have to pause their performance if a new concert is being built, right? So I figure like this would explain why like they wouldn't want a new one because then they couldn't see them during this construction period.
Let's see. So answer choice E, many popular singers and musicians who currently do not hold concert in the city would begin to hold concerts there if there was a new concert hall being built. If anything, I think that this would actually make people want to build the new concert hall, tear down the old one, build a new one, because it would bring in more diversity of artists, right? Like if I'm from a fairly small city, we don't get a whole ton of major artists coming in. If they were like, we're going to build a new concert hall, there's going to be all these big artists coming in, I'd be like, heck yeah, tear down this one, build the new one. But D does a really good job of giving us sort of the best of both worlds, right? So there's this well-publicized plan. The city government would turn the new one in or turn the old one into an auditorium. So boom, we get a new auditorium. That's awesome. And we get a new concert hall. That's the best of both worlds. Do you see what I'm saying there?
Yeah, but I think like another question I would ask then is like, how do you know if the new concert hall isn't like, like smaller seats than the last one?
Sure. So on the LSAT, we don't want to make assumptions in general, but it is going to ask us to make some common sense assumptions. So we are going to carry in the assumption that the new concert hall is probably not going to be worse than the old one, because then why would we want to build it in the first place? They know that the old one has these problems, but they're saying it's better to just keep it around and build a new one than it is to convert the other one because they get the best of both worlds. Does that make sense? We
Yeah, it
don't
makes
want to make
sense.
big assumptions, but we want to make sure that we're staying grounded in
We're
reality.
relevant.
We can't be like, well, what if the new concert hall is going to be on the moon? Like it's like no, that's not a thing. We're still going to make our common sense assumptions that we're living in the normal world.
Right. Thank you.
Yep. Anyone else? I'm happy to answer a few questions. Otherwise, I can get you out of here. Let's see. Kevin? Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, so I don't know if anybody else had this problem. I did end up picking the right answer choice, but I was kind of debating B and D, and it was mostly because of the wording in the first sentence where it says a city's concert goers. It was kind of hard for me to be like, okay, who are these people? And like, I kind of tied it in with B and was thinking, all right, yeah, are they out of the city? Are they in the city? Are they around the stadium? Like, I know you shouldn't like jump into any assumptions or anything, but how, and I didn't, I was like, yeah, I'm thinking about this way too much. It's kind of uncertain who these people are, but it took me a while to really come to that deduction. Is there a way to kind of like just close that time gap a bit, just be more
Yeah.
sharp about it?
Anytime that you're asking about how to be more efficient, how to like build up speed on the LSAT, really I want you to focus on your accuracy. And accuracy includes being able to quickly dispatch of wrong answers like B, which it sounds like you eventually did figure out why B was wrong, and that's great. That's what we want you to do. The drilling feature on LSAT Demon, I don't know if you're a subscriber right now, but we do have a free account option. So I super highly recommend that you go and make a free account and start drilling if you can, because drilling will give you questions that are at and just above your skill level. And once you're able to do, or once you're going through and doing drilling questions and you're getting them right consistently, it's going to keep on inching up your skill level. And as you build your skill level up, the easier questions that used to take you 5 minutes to do, suddenly they're going to take you 30 seconds to do. And over time, as you keep inching your skill level up, you're just going to keep getting faster and faster and faster because you're getting more accurate, not because you're focusing on speed at all. Does that answer your question?
Yeah, I guess so. Yeah. I was
If
just,
not,
yeah.
go ahead and follow up.
Yeah, okay. It was just like, how do you recognize more quickly that you're making way too many assumptions in your own mind? Like, oh wait, I'm going way too far in this direction. Like, how do you
Yeah.
catch yourself quicker in that process? I know
Sure.
that maybe that comes with experience, but
It,
like,
it does come with experience, but I also want to say you want to approach these questions from a super critical point of view, right? On every single question on the LSAT, there's going to be one right answer and there's going to be 4 wrong answers. The right answer is going to be 100% right. It will have nothing wrong with it. The wrong answers will have something that is either unsupported by the facts or contains some sort of assumption or goes directly against the facts that we already know. So when you bring in this critical mindset where you're going through and you're trying to prove an answer choice wrong, once you're doing that, you're going to have a way easier time of eliminating bad answers. Sometimes, like where I'm at, a lot of times I'll read 3 words of an answer choice and I'll go, that's wrong. Because it'll be something in those 3 words that tells me this is absolutely not true. The author's just not doing that. So if you bring in that critical mindset, you're not trying to make excuses for answer choices. It's gotta be a really high standard. Because the worst thing that's going to happen then is you're going to eliminate all 5 answer choices. And if you've done that, then, well, you really just know that you probably misread something. And you're just going to have to go back through, read them again, and you're probably going to find your mistake and get it right.
thanks, Ryan. Appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you. All right. Is it Sulia?
Hi, yeah, it's Celia. So my question is, I chose option A. Before any of the survey questions were asked, the respondents were informed that the survey was sponsored by a group that advocates for replacing the existing concert hall. And what I thought is, since it says that respondents were opposed to the idea of tearing down the existing structure, and since they were informed by the sponsor that are advocates for replacing the existing concert hall, that would be the answer to, or was that too much assuming? So yeah, I'm not sure why A was wrong.
Sure. So let me ask you this. If I was the one giving you this survey and I said to you, hey, are you in favor of remodeling this concert hall, or are you in favor of tearing it down and building a new one?
Mhm.
Then afterwards, I said, by the way, I work for, Ryan Sampling Organization. Does that change your opinion of it at all?
No.
Yeah, not really, right? I'm just going to be like, okay, I don't really care who you work for, and then I'm just going to give my opinion. So the problem with A is that it really doesn't move the needle at all on what answer the participants would give to the survey, right? It doesn't really change what answers they're going to give if they decide or if they disclose who they're working for. Do you see that?
Yeah, but doesn't it say here that this it says the respondents were informed that the survey was sponsored by a group that advocates for replacing the existing concert hall, right? It
Mhm.
says that they advocates for like removing the concert hall. And
Mhm.
that's when I thought, okay, so that's why that's why the respondents are opposing of tearing down of replacing the concert hall. I don't know if that makes sense.
No, it does. I just want you hopefully to be able to see that who's asking this question probably isn't a super pertinent detail. It just doesn't really move the needle for me on like, doesn't matter if they're advocating for it because they're just asking a question. The only thing that they're really saying is like, do you think that we should tear this down or not? Whether or not that person thinks that we should tear it down doesn't move the needle for me on my opinion.
Mhm.
So a skill to do on logical reasoning, like all the time, is to put it into like make it real, put it into your own world. So think about this scenario. If someone comes up to me and they say, I think that we should tear down this concert hall, or I think that we should renovate this concert hall, do you? The fact that they think we should doesn't really matter to me because it doesn't add any credible evidence to either side, right? If I say, I think this or I think that, I haven't really done anything to prove that. I haven't given any evidence for it. I haven't given you any reason to believe it. You just know
Mhm.
what I.
Oh, okay. This makes a little bit more sense, right?
Good, good.
Just
I'm
put a
glad.
lot of emphasis on the thing, on the idea that the sponsors are, they're advocating for replacing the existing concert hall, but it
Yeah,
wouldn't.
it doesn't give any reason for us to change our minds on or change. I mean, it's not us that's answering the survey, but it doesn't give, if I was being asked the survey, it doesn't give me any reason to change my mind, just knowing who they work for.
Mhm. Okay.
All right. Thank you very much.
Thank
Does
you.
anyone else have any more questions? I can probably answer one more. If not, I'm happy to get you guys out of here. Hope you guys have a fantastic Tuesday night. D is correct because it tells us there was a better alternative already. Yeah, exactly. Tara, thanks for the thumbs up. I appreciate it. I love a little bit of validation. All right. Thank you guys so much. I hope you all have a fantastic night. Good luck on the LSAT. Hope to see you guys in one of my classes eventually. Yeah. All right. Thanks, guys.